Why is that? Before we get into that, what is the prof thing? Because when we sat down, you were like, no, I'm just Jerome. Just Jerome.
I'm just Jerome. You can, and it's in all walks of life, whether it's at work or at home with my kids' friends. Like, I'm Jerome.
Just Jerome.
It's good.
Well, just Jerome is very humble, but he really is a world-class surgeon, as are his colleagues. I imagine they've studied 15, 20 years. They could all work 7 days a week in the private sector, earning an absolute fortune, and yet they choose to spend their time at Barra in Soweto, where the need is the greatest.
Welcome back to another episode of Good Things with myself, Brent Lindeque, the Good Things guy. Today, I've got incredibly important people in the hot seat that are going to tell us about the amazing work. They're both looking at each other like, yeah, we're not important. Of course you are. That's why you're here. We're going to talk about the good work that you're doing. We've got Gareth Armstrong from RMB and Prof, which he doesn't like to be called. I'm going to find out why. Jerome Loveland. I need to say Love Child, which would have been Loveland. Welcome to Good Things with Brent Lindeque. It's great to have you here. You're from Surgeons for Little Lives.
I am. Thanks for having us.
It's great to have you here. First off, let's get into it. What is Surgeons for Little Lives and how did it get started?
Long story. Surgeons for Little Lives is a charity, a registered, transparent charity that supports the care that children requiring surgery in Gauteng need. And it's based in the state healthcare sector. So, it really is a long story. I had this vision, not just me, but 12 years ago, that we needed to improve the support and care of our patients and their families, principally at Baragwanath Hospital, actually. And the best way to do that was to involve funding from the private sector. And we had a lot of interest, but the best way to do that was not just to give money to the Department of Health or the university, because people get a little bit worried about that. So we set up a formal NPO, Surgeons for Little Lives, told our story, and here we are today. It's had a phenomenal impact on the children of Gauteng and surrounding provinces in the surgical care that they need.
So obviously at Good Things Guy, we tell a lot of good news stories, and your organization we've told many stories about in the past, and we continue to do so. What is the state of public healthcare, and why would something like this be needed?
So I think the state of public healthcare is really good. I think people underestimate how good it is, and it actually always saddens me, to hear that people don't want to come to a paediatric surgery department at Barra and will try and get funding to have it done in the private sector, when such an amazing world-class facility exists in Johannesburg. And we provide a world-class academic pediatric surgical service. And the charity Surgeons for Little Lives has just uplifted that on many, many levels, which we'll probably chat about just now.
Okay, I want to know about it. So before we get into that, maybe we can bring in Gareth and speak about how did RMB get involved?
So Brent, the involvement from RMB actually started before my time. And initially it was around funding and providing pieces of art and sculptures that we could dig up from our storeroom, donate to Jerome and his team, that they could auction at their dinners. And then more recently, I think the partnership was probably strengthened on the back of our funding of the burns unit, and really when surgeons became the beneficiary of our healthcare trust, which is really a trust that we formed together with an education and social development trust. What RMB essentially did was apply our skills, our network, our resources to generate funds. So essentially what we do as part of our day job, invest in BE transactions, with surgeons being one of the beneficiaries. And really that allowed us to contribute a much more material and significant amount as opposed to just donating money.
And it's those significant amounts that make all the difference. That enables you to do the good work that you do. So perhaps take our listeners and our viewers on a journey of what is that work, the upgrades, the sort of saving the little lives, if we can get into that.
So it's very aligned. So when we started, it was purely around uplifting the patient experience, because we knew that we have world-class pediatric surgeons, We work in collaboration with a world-class university, Wits University. But there were the smaller issues in terms of patient need that we tried to answer. As we've grown, we've really adopted the kind of pillars of Wits University, which are around excellent clinical care, research, and telling people the good work that we do from a research and academic perspective, and then around teaching and training. So teaching the next generation of pediatric surgeons and making them excellent, if not better than us. And not only from South Africa, but we've also embraced training on the African continent. So as an example, Rolls-Royce actually fund a pediatric surgical cancer surgery fellowship. And the first fellow has just completed, and he's going back to Northern Africa, or north of us in Africa, and he'll be able to touch tens of thousands of lives by being trained by Surgeons for Little Lives. So it's grown beyond just, so patient care remains key, it's the core, but by aligning with those other pillars, we're really able to make a very deeply meaningful impact on the pediatric and pediatric surgical community beyond South Africa.
Which is so important, right? Is imparting that knowledge and ultimately helping other human beings. It's what we were put on this earth to do, to help each other.
100%.
I want to get into the numbers, because you said like tens of thousands up from the training. But here in South Africa, what do those numbers look like of the kids that are being helped through your organization?
So it's interesting. So this year is the 10th anniversary of Surgeons for Little Lives, which is, just to deviate a little, it's amazing. So one of my friends and one of our donors just wrote us a little note the other day and saying how amazing it is. We're in rarefied air in that the charity is still in existence and growing 10 years later. I'm
going to get back to the numbers now.
The numbers.
Before you get into that, I want to say happy birthday to Surgeons. So it's Good Things Guy's 10th birthday this year. It's
congrats.
Very serendipitous that we're having this conversation. But I think the work that my team does is so important, but what you're doing is far greater. So just congratulations and well done. And what a lacquer. We should actually have birthday cake if someone can organize that quickly in between.
The restaurant's closed.
We were talking about the numbers.
So the numbers, we've just looked at the numbers over the last 10 years, and they're very broad, right? But we've operated on, so the collaboration between the charity and the university and the Gauteng Department of Health, where we're based, we've operated in excess of 20,000 patients since Surgeons for Lives has been in existence. And every single one of those patients has been impacted by the charity. Whilst a lot of the stuff is small and you can't really give it a financial value, one of our biggest projects was we built a new clinic to work out of. The previous one was an asbestos shack. It was like human rights violation, so we replaced that clinic. And then on top of that, we built a parental sleepover facility. So, and to put that in context, we drain patients from all over Gauteng and beyond. A mom would have her child, let's just say with appendicitis, really sick in Klerksdorp, and she wouldn't be able to bring her kid to hospital. She'd put it in an ambulance. Kid would come to Barra. She wouldn't have the finance to get there, and she would see her child when he or she was delivered back to Klerksdorp 2 weeks later. And that's a very real story. So that parental sleepover facility, we will identify those parents or caregivers, and they come, and it's like a hotel. And they come and they sleep there, and they're with their child every single day that they're in need in the hospital. And the impact of that is just so 4,000 parents have lodged in our sleepover facility since it was opened in 2018. And that's just mind-blowing. Right?
Well, that's great for the healing process, because not only does a parent then have peace of mind, but I know when I've been sick, even if it's just a bit of man flu, the first person I call is my mom.
100%.
So you want your parents there to be next to you.
Yeah.
One of your other big projects, which you touched on, was the burn unit that you built. What sort of technology went into that?
So that was really a lot. So because research is so important to us, we always track our outcomes, we track our admissions, we track our mortalities, and Baragwanath Hospital has essentially the only dedicated children's burns unit in Gauteng. The only other one is at Red Cross Children's Hospital in Cape Town. Up until recently, that unit functioned with 5, maybe 6 intensive care beds, a relatively run-down theatre area and ward area, and it just didn't meet the need. Our mortality was higher than acceptable. So when we identified that, we strategized, and so when we launched Surgeons for Little Lives, we already knew that we needed to renovate the burns unit, and it was one of our kind of launch projects. Whilst we were kind of designing it and designing it and getting our finances in place, and which takes time, we made changes to the clinical care to bring down our mortality, and we've successfully did that. And in the preceding years, we brought the mortality of our burns unit patients significantly down. And then we got the project, we call it Spade Ready, where our partners, who are Mediclinic and the likes of RMB and other donors, we were able to design the renovation, and we were then able to go to a donor, and they said, well, what do you need? And we said, well, here it is. This is what we need to do. This is how much it's going to cost. Here's the plans. They've been approved, and they simply needed to give us the funding. And we increased that unit from 6 to 11 intensive care beds, so we doubled the ICU capacity. It's got a phenomenal rehabilitation facility. The dressing change area is, it's a 25 million rand overview that will revolutionize the care, and the clinicians on the ground are already telling us that the mortality and outcomes, or the mortality is further lower and the outcomes are better. So yeah, it's these things take time, but been very successfully
successful
implemented.
and meaningful.
Very meaningful. And listen, I have to say, it would absolutely not be possible. You can have the ideas and you can put the structure in place, but you need the partners like Gareth and his team at RMB, the Anonymous Family Trust that contributed. Mediclinic are a massive partner of ours in terms of infrastructure development and tendering and project management. So it's by aligning with those types of partners that we've been able to do this effectively and transparently, which is really cool.
So we featured many times on Good Things Guy as well, how private and public, when they come together, it starts to really make a difference. Gareth, with regards to RMB, so RMB's got many CSR projects. You're involved in many different things around South Africa, but this has got heart, right? This is something that you're proud of everything, but this really does have heart.
Absolutely, and you can see why it's so easy to support Jerome and his team. Jerome's very, very humble, probably why he doesn't want to be called a professor or referred to as a prof.
Before we get into that, what is the prof thing? Because when we sat down, you were like, no, I'm just Jerome. Jerome.
I'm just Jerome. You can, and it's in all walks of life, whether it's at work or at home with my kids friends. Like, I'm Jerome.
Just Jerome.
It's good.
Well, just Jerome is very humble, but he really is a world-class surgeon, as are his colleagues. I imagine they've studied 15, 20 years. They could all work 7 days a week in the private sector, earning an absolute fortune, and yet they choose to spend their time at Barra in Soweto, where the need is the greatest. So it really is very easy to get behind his team and support them.
I think it's a beautiful thing, and I feel like I'm sitting with a hero for the work that you do, and you are humble. The kids, they need help. South Africans need help, and you are that helper at the end of the day that is doing what others can't. So thank you so much for that work that you do. If people want more information about Surgeons for Little Lives, where do they go? What do they do? If I have someone who's watching right now or listening, and they're like, I have a bit of money and I've been moved, how do they get hold of you?
It's very easy. They can go to the website. That's the obvious thing, surgeonsforlives.com. But this is also, they can send me a message. You can, my number's 083 676 0004. You can phone me, they can WhatsApp me, they can go to the website. Ansi Veldhagen, who kind of runs Surgeons for Little Lives operationally on the ground at Barra, will be on it like a rash, if I can say that. We're very open, we're very contactable, and there's so many different ways that people can get involved. It's not just It's not just money. You know, every patient that comes to the hospital gets an admission pack. So, and that admission pack has got toothbrush and a toothpaste and a blanket, and they get to take that stuff home. When they go home, they get a little discharge pack. So there's an art rehabilitation project. There's countless ways that people can get involved beyond financially contributing, and for them it's really meaningful, you know.
I love that you've mentioned that, and I guess that's how we're going to close today, is that sometimes the smallest things are the biggest things, and many a time South Africans can feel like the need is too great in our country, and they can feel like my 10 rand or my 100 rand is not going to go anywhere because it is so vast. But it's not about money. It's about being there. It's about volunteering. It's about assisting in the ways that you can. If South Africans want to, I don't know, get involved with R&B, I know you. Everybody knows you. We know where you are. But what do they do?
I mean, what we're really trying to do with this, Brent, is to say that as bankers, we all have our day jobs. We all have a specific set of skills. We have access to resources. We have a network. But what we want to do is to show that we're also good citizens. And we can take those skills that we use every day and apply them differently for the benefit of others. So we're generating an outcome, a financial return that we can share outside of our day job. Surgeons is just one really, really great example. We've done great work in education and social development. And it's really around 5 or 10% of the people who've got this great set of skills, insights, just applied slightly differently. With their discretionary energy, you really can make a difference. And to your point, every little bit counts. And that's the basis on which we involving ourselves in supporting surgeons.
And if we all get involved, it takes that little bit to come together to make the biggest differences. And that's how you do it. Go and visit Surgeons for Little Lives for more information. Read up on the work that they're doing. We're going to put links in this podcast that you can reach them, and also in the article we'll write about you, so there's a little bit more information. It's been great having you on the show today. Thank you so much for coming down to Flame Studios. It's been really rad.
Well, thanks for having us.
Also, I can
Thanks
smell.
for having us.
So there's no cake. I can smell the Nando's. So there is Nando's that's here. For our listeners and our viewers, I'm really sorry you're not going to be able to eat our Nando's, but you can order your own. Remember to like, subscribe, do all those good things as I tell you every week. Taylor, come show us the Nando's because everybody wants to see it now.
Who must be famous?
Birthday.
Thanks, Taylor.
Wishing you only good things.
Must we thank you or must we thank Robbie?
Thank you. Thank Robbie. Thank Robbie. Thank you.